This is St. Louis Cardinals baseball. The statues outside Busch Stadium, they've been shined up recently. And there's a look at Ted Savage, one of the greats in Cardinal history. It's the Padres and Cardinals Game 1 on Fox Sports Midwest. The Cardinals in the thick of things in both the Central and in the Wild Card Central Division. The Cardinals 3.5 games back, and in the Wild Card 4.5 games out. Jim Hayes is here. That's the Cardinals Hall of Famer Jim Edmonds. I'm Dan McLaughlin, and welcome to Cardinals baseball. If the Cardinals are going to stay in this, Lance Lynn has to be big tonight, and the pitching has to be good down the stretch.
Well, Lance Lynn's been big all year long, and you can tell every time he goes out on the mound, it is super important to him. You can see the ERA since July 9th has been nothing but spectacular, and you're right, he's going to have to come up big in order to keep this team in this playoff race.
Only Gio Gonzalez has been better ERA-wise since July 9th. Lance Lynn gets the call tonight. The return of the Jed against the Padres. He's in the lineup tonight. Baseball coming up. Just about set for baseball. Gorgeous night. Head to head, the Padres and Cardinals. The Cardinals, the last 6 meetings, they have dominated. 42 runs, a 3.25 average, a lot of home runs, and the ERA has been very good, 2.50. Big reason why, Jed Jerko. And so, Jimmy, you've done this before. What's it like going against your former team?
Well, I think that if you have left your former team with a little bit of sour taste in your mouth, there's nothing like going out there and digging in and trying to show everyone what you got. And he has done a complete turnaround since he's left San Diego.
Jed Jerko last year against the Padres, a 7.60 average, 5 home runs. Lance Land with our first pitch when we come back on your home of the Cardinals, Fox Sports Midwest. Ball is brought to you by Bud Light, famous among friends. By Chevy Silverado, the most dependable, longest lasting, full-size pickups on the road. Find yours at your local Mid-America Chevy dealer. And by Menards, save big money at Menards on all your home improvement needs. Beautiful night for baseball. And Lance Lynn to the mound. He has been one of the hottest pitchers, not only in the National League, but in the entire major leagues. On the outside corner, and it swung on and missed. Struck him out. There are some that are old school, like Lance Lynn. Back-to-back strikeouts, strikes out this side. And tonight, Lance Lynn looking for his 9th consecutive quality start. You bet he's old school, and he's been very good, Jim Edmonds.
He has been very good, and I like what you said about old school. He is old school pitcher with a lot of fastballs and a lot of grit and a lot of guts. And if he moves the ball around and keeps the ball down and keeps these guys off balance, he's going to be fine tonight.
So Lance Lynn making his team-leading 26th start of the year. His record stands at 10-6. And this is the lineup that he'll face. Margot, Asuaje, Pirelu, Solarte, Myers, Spangenberg, Hedges, Coleman, and Richard.
Easy for you to say.
The all-name team of the San Diego Padres.
That was pretty good. I'm impressed, partner.
There's a look at Mike Matheny. Since he's been the manager, the Cardinals have won 14 of 18 against the San Diego Padres. Let's face it, if the Cardinals are going to go to postseason play, they've got to capitalize on these sub-500 teams.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I learned when I got over here to St. Louis that Tony La Russa used to harp on. And when you get closer to the end and you're in a pennant race, these teams like this that are out of it, or teams that are out of it, will die off a little bit. Those are the teams you have to get after right away. If you score early, they're going to fade because they're ready to go home and they just want the game to be over with.
It's been a Padres team that struggled all year long, and in particular offensively. Manuel Margot, they think this guy is going to be a good one. He's a center fielder. He was picked up a couple of years ago in a deal with Boston. Craig Kimbrell went the other way. They have scored a total of 6 runs in the last 4 games. And of those 4 games, 3 have been losses. And the pitch is hit into shallow right field. Stephen Piscotty back in the big leagues and makes the catch. Around the Horn is presented by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. Pham, Fowler, Piscotty in the outfield. Jerko, DeYoung, Wong, and Carpenter on the infield. And Yadier Molina is behind the plate. So the first man retired. Asuaje. Asuaje.
Carlos Asuaje.
You got it. Their second baseman tonight. He was also part of the Craig Kimbrell deal with Boston. Pitch in the dirt for ball 1 out of Venezuela. They think they have a young nucleus of guys that maybe aren't ready for the big leagues. You know, you talk about the 4A guy and the guy that's really close, but they're really pushed into action this year because of the lack of talent at the big league level. However, they love Andy Green.
I was going to say, tough chore for a manager. You really have to win in the big leagues to keep your job, and when you don't get a lot of good players to put on the field day in and day out, you got to worry about your job a little bit, unless the front office come down and say this is what we're going to work with. But you're right, and you laughingly say 4A. It's AAA. You can be really good, and sometimes it doesn't equate at the big league level. And there's this joke of being a 4A player. Well, you get guys that are really not ready, and it takes them a while. So sometimes that makes them a 4A player. Sometimes they never get to the big leagues and stay.
2-1 pitch. Wong ranging to his left, spinning and throwing it away. So with 1 out, Asuaje reaches. Pirelu will be the batter.
Colton makes a nice play right here going to his left, and it looks like he just momentum carried him so much out into the outfield that just got a little goofy with the throw and slung it up over Matt's head.
Ruled a base hit. And it brings in the Padres right fielder. Something the Padres do when and if they get on is they try to run. They are 6th in the league in stolen bases. Mike Matheny asked before the game about some of these players that clearly are not household names, and he said they started a little bit earlier on the Padres with the advanced scouting and the video, trying to figure out, okay, who are these guys?
You talked about running. I mean, I think that I was always a firm believer that if you're going to build a team in San Diego, you're going to have to build a different kind of a team, because you're playing a lot of your home games in a ballpark where the ball doesn't carry, it hangs up in the air. It's a decent place to hit the ball on the ground. The infield is nice, but you're going to need speed, and you're going to need guys to catch the ball, which they really don't have this year as far as catching the ball. Their defense hasn't been great, and you got to keep the guys that keep the ball on the ground on the pitching staff.
Piscotty near the line makes the catch.
I really believe that ballpark is the toughest place to play in the major leagues, and as for a hitter, you have to hit line drives and balls on the ground, and a lot of guys are used to hitting the ball in the air, especially now the ball is juiced again and it's flying. So I mean, you see home runs in San Diego, but it's definitely always at the bottom of the pack when it comes to home runs in the league.
Yangervis Solarte, the former Yankee, he was part of the Chase Headley deal. The switch hitter, this being his better side. 283, 12 of his 13 home runs hit from this side of the plate. Well, the Padres and many in baseball rave about Andy Green, and you saw on the screen in a shot previous from our esteemed director Tom Mead, the great Mark McGuire. There he is on the left. He serves as the bench coach. And Mark telling me, he said, this guy reminds me of Tony La Russa. That's the kind of level that he believes Andy Green is at. Young manager, always encouraging, especially with a young team that's struggling. The Padres come in, and it's been a tough year. 55-69, 33.5 games out.
I think in some ways it would be fun, and not fun to play and have a losing season, but to teach kids at this level, because sometimes as a manager you throw your team out on the field and win or lose, you know, you really have your hands tied at times, and you have some veterans that do things that you don't like, and because of the money now it's hard to tell them, and it's hard to keep people on track. And I think for these two guys right here, teaching these young kids day in and day out, at least you're always moving forward and you're always teaching. There's no way to pull back, because you know they need all the help they can get.
And the 1-2 is lifted in the air out to left field. Tommy Pham makes the catch. We head to the bottom of the first. Scoreless inning put up by Lynn. £250 from Lafayette, Indiana, finishing up his warm-up tosses. Matt Carpenter will lead it off for the Cardinals, followed by Tommy Pham and Paul DeYoung. Then Dexter Fowler, Yadier Molina, Jed Jerko, Stephen Piscotty, Colton Wong, and the pitcher batting ninth, Lance Lynn. So Richard, his last start, his third career complete game shutout. And that was on Wednesday. He allowed 3 hits. 3-0 win against the Phillies. Will we see the good or the bad? It's been an up and down year for him. One thing you will see, if he's right, a lot of ground balls. 58.5% ground ball percentage. That's the second highest in all of baseball, behind Marcus Stroman. And the 0-1. 0-2.
Padres are high on this young man because of his demeanor. I think that he goes out there, they say he doesn't get rattled. He has good stuff. He moves the ball around, gives up a lot of ground balls. It turns into a lot of hits because the young team that is out there doesn't play defense as well as they're capable of playing yet. And so they give up a lot of hits that are probably not going to happen in a year or two down the line. And they love the way he just stays out there and competes every time he's out there.
Inside for a ball. It's 1-2. Notice how he throws the baseball. My partner's starting to get underneath center, ready to throw a football. Because in 2005, originally selected by the White Sox out of Michigan, and he played both football, he was a quarterback, and baseball, and then became an 8th round selection by Chicago. He's the backup to Chad Henne. There's a breaking pitch and a strikeout. Go back to his last start. And it was a complete game shutout at home against the Phillies. See that motion, he'd be tough on a lefty too.
Funky, he's got a little cutter, a little slider. He can run the ball and sink the ball. Not natural for a lefty to be able to sink the ball and run the ball down and into lefties. Usually they're more straight with a little cut action in the curveball. So it'll be interesting to see how he works hitters on both sides of the plate.
It was 5 years, 8 days between complete game shutouts. Longest gap among any active pitcher. Here's a 1-0. 1 ball and 1 strike on Tommy Pham. Hitting .307 with the 16 home runs, and he's driven in 52. Also scoring runs at a high clip. Since he was called up, and that was in early May, 4th in the National League in runs scored.
Putting together a solid season.
And it's hit out of play, 2-2. Richard last year appeared in 25 games for the Cubs. 14 innings out of their bullpen, went 0-1. Released by Chicago in August, finished up the year with the Padres. Ground ball that's hit to short. Dusty Coleman. Spangenberg is in left. Margot is in center. Pirela is in right. Solarte at third. Coleman. Bear with me. Asuaje, he's at second base. Myers at first. And Hedges behind the plate. Can we get a Jones or a Smith, please?
I was going to say your job is not as easy tonight as most nights. Glad I'm not on your side of the table, my friend.
Smith, Jones, Brock. I mean, give me something easy.
Green, McGuire.
Easy. Here's the 0-1 pitch. And Young breaks his bat. Ground ball. Solarte makes the play. The Cardinals go in order. 1 inning in the books here at Busch Stadium. Nice to be back home, and there's no score. Let's check in with Jim.
Now, Dan, except for the outcome of the actual game, the Little League World Series Classic was widely considered a huge success. The players loved it. Obviously, the kids loved it. But there was a little bit of controversy. The broadcast credited Tommy Pham with buying 200 snow cones for the kids. He then came clean on Twitter later, saying Carlos Martinez bought half of them. But that was hardly the end of this controversy. Pham told me this: well, I saw my teammates taking all the snow cones. and he named names, Dan. I'm not going to reveal any of the names here, Paul DeYoung, but Paul told me he was not aware they were for the kids, and it was very hot. Dan, what we have here is hashtag SnowConeGate.
Wow. You're getting to the bottom of it, too, aren't you?
I am. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And we don't name names, Paul DeYoung.
Gotcha. Paul DeYoung.
I like that he's talking about Major League Baseball players in the stands at a Little League game and controversy.
Yeah,
with snow cones.
That's the least of our controversies with snow cones. That'll be just fine.
Snow cone gate.
Yeah. Here's Will Myers, a former Rookie of the Year with Tampa Bay. That was in 2013. Leads their club in home runs with 24 and RBIs with 59. Spangenberg is on deck. That was a great experience talking with some of the players today about being at the Little League World Series. And you know it was for Lance Lynn. He got a jersey, Brownsburg, Indiana. Randall Grichuk presented with one. Max Maroff of the Pirates, who competed in the Little League World Series. But you saw the pictures on social media and the guys having fun with it. Took the experience in, and talking with some of them today, they loved it.
And it looked like they had a good time on TV, and I think that's as important as anything, as it came across that way on TV. And that's the whole issue right now, trying to get the younger kids back into baseball. They think they're losing the younger crowd. Of talking with Jim Leland and Tony La Russa yesterday, and that's Major League Baseball is really concerned about that.
Here's a 3-2, and Myers pulls it foul. Jim Leland was on our flight from Pittsburgh to St. Louis, and he was getting ready to play in the Albert Pujols Golf Classic, which was hosted by Carlos Martinez.
Yes, he was.
Here's a 3-2 pitch. Fouled back. Myers, one of the rare Major League players not wearing batting gloves. Did you ever try that?
No, sir.
You can see Myers kind of shaking his fingers right now.
I picked up a bat the other day at this Major League Baseball alumni game that we had, and I picked up a black bat with no batting gloves on my hand. It was hot, and I thought to myself, if I even tried to swing this bat right now, it's going in the stands. There's no chance. But you see some of the guys, a lot of the guys that swing a bat without batting gloves will normally have the bottom, at least the bottom half of the bat, white. And what that is it's not finished, so it's a little bit rougher. When you start glazing and painting the handle, it's dang near impossible to hold on to.
Here's a 3-2 pitch. And a bouncer back to Lynn. Flips over to Carpenter for the out. Lance Lynn has been one of the better pitchers in all of baseball over his last 8. A 1.46 ERA. And look at the home runs per 9, way down. And he doesn't give up many home runs here at home. He's given up 22 on the year, but only 6 of those here at Busch Stadium. Corey Spangenberg.
I like what Lance does a lot, as you just saw in that last at bat with Will Myers. He's fouling off pitches and fouling off pitches, and he's fouling them back, which means he's got a pretty good swing and pretty good look at everything. And he really just keeps challenging him and just keeps moving the ball around. Doesn't want to use a secondary pitch to make a mistake with. So he gets Will Myers out, and what does he do? The very next pitch, the first pitch to the next hitter, breaking ball for a strike. And I like that, because I think sometimes guys give up and just flip breaking balls in there, and they get hammered because they're not their best pitch.
Challenged him there with the fastball at 93, his first strikeout of the night.
I always like when pitchers pitch backwards, because I feel like that's the more contact hitters will shorten up and be able to put the breaking ball and the changeup in play. Sometimes those are the guys that you challenge with fastballs, and they're looking for the off speed, and you throw the ball right by them, just like he did right there.
So 2 outs and nobody on. Here's Austin Hedges, the catcher, batting .216. Just rolls off your tongue. Austin Hedges. Thank goodness. Here's a 1-0 pitch. Adam Wainwright there with Carson Kelly on the left, Luke Weaver on the right. Adam does expect to pitch before this season is through. Here's a 1-1. And a base hit into left field, just over DeYoung. MLB.TV. Every night, every device. Watch every out-of-market regular season game live. Plus, get a free subscription to @Bat Premium, the #1 app for live baseball, blackout, and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.TV for details. Here's Dusty Coleman, the shortstop, batting .259. And it's hit out of play. Told that Dusty Coleman very popular in certain circles. Here's the 0-1, and that's taken outside, and that's, he's just a kid that's very hard and a guy that goes after it, tough. Here's a 1-1. And it's a little low and outside. Got to have those hard-nosed guys too with young players. You know, the ups and downs. It's not going to be always smooth, especially in the game of baseball.
You said that.
Two and two. Cardinals pitching here at home, some of the best in baseball all year long. 3.37 ERA. That's the starters and the bullpen. That's second only to the Dodgers. And the Dodgers, they're in a different league right now.
It's amazing what they've been doing this year.
Wow. And that's taken low and inside. And a fly ball lifted into right center. Calling for it, Piscotty. He's got it. And the Padres strand their second runner of the night. Fowler, Molina, Jerko coming up. from Busch Stadium here in St. Louis. Jimmy talked about pitching backwards, and let's take a look at what you're talking about here.
Well, usually standard is to put people away with the breaking ball, but I think when you get guys that are contact hitters, you start with the breaking ball, and then you can see he's kind of a little bit in between right there with the 94 mile an hour fastball. He's behind it. So you go soft early, pitching backwards, and then attack hard late in the count, because some good hitters will try and soften up their hands and really just try to put fastball in play and get a breaking ball to hit. And so you just go after them hard, and usually it's a little too quick for them to speed up and catch up with the fastball.
Here's Dexter Fowler. Lines it foul for strike one. He's 10 for his last 22. And he's hitting .421 in the month of August. So basically, since he's come off the DL, he has been terrific in this cleanup spot. Molina on deck, and then Jed Jerko. 0-2 the count. And a strikeout of Fowler on a high strike. And the second of the night for Richard.
Take a look right here. Don't call that pitch a whole lot. I think that's what's surprising. And I think that's a strike. The ball actually kind of looked like it rode up a little bit. He gets underneath it, but I think that's a strike, but I don't think they call it enough for hitters to recognize it as a strike.
And Molina on the first pitch hits it out of play. He went 3 for 4 at Williamsport on Sunday night. He now has 1,704 hits in an 11th place tie with Cardinals Hall of Famer Ted Simmons on the all-time hits list, and 23 away from Jim Bottomley in Cardinals history. That's a low strike, and it's 0-2. Home plate umpire is the crew chief Jerry Meals. Ron Kolpa down at first. Will Little at second. Ryan Blakeney is down at third. 1-2 the count. Dodgers at Pittsburgh tonight. They trail 5-4 in that game. It's game 2 of their 4-game series, and last night the Dodgers had their 40th come from behind win. Jamison Tyone getting the start for the Pirates. They've dropped 7 of 9 and start 7 games back. And that's out of play. Cody Bellinger has been put on the disabled list with a strained right ankle. Also Alex Wood on the 10-day DL with shoulder inflammation. I'm not sure there's a team that uses the 10-day DL more than Dave Roberts and Los Angeles. Inside corner and missed.
You can perfect it. Keep your team healthy. I mean, that's the way to go, especially with the pitching staff. I mean, I think that if you push a guy back and he misses a start, really 10 days, you miss one start and you get an extra day of rest in there, and yeah, you definitely can manipulate it that way.
When I walk to Yadier Molina, look at our Toyota keys to the game. Cardinals score 5 or more runs. Pretty simple, 10-0. 4 runs or fewer, 1-8. Going back to the Dodgers for a moment, they're 53 games above 500. So here we are this late in the season, August 22nd. They've lost a total of 35 games this year. 35, that's it. Jerko, ground ball towards third, could be 2. The turn, and it's a double play. 5-4-3 on the double play sends us to the third here at Busch Stadium. back, just a game back of Milwaukee. Pittsburgh, after splitting with St. Louis, they are 7 back of the Chicago Cubs. The BJC Healthcare difference maker. You know, you look at this, the schedule for these teams, the Cubs, the Brewers, and the Cardinals, and there's a lot of numbers, but to try to put this in perspective, starting tonight, the Cardinals will play 20 of their next 22 against teams with losing records. The only 2 games of the next 22 that is not against a team that's below 500, that's Milwaukee. Cardinals have the 3rd easiest remaining strength of schedule in terms of winning percentage and what's left. Only the Mariners and the Cubs are easier. And apparently that's a hit by pitch as he hits Clayton Richard, who barely even moved.
Apparently. Take a look at it right here. Might have caught a shirt. Oof.
Yep, he did.
That one's going to leave a mark tomorrow. Look, to hit on what we were talking about earlier and what your point back then, or your point just now was, I don't know if Tony actually was right on about this or he wanted us to believe this, but like I said, playing against sub 500 teams or teams that are out of it at the end of the year when you're chasing something basically is a grind and a mental focus that you have to have and trying to jump on those teams, and they will fold. And I cannot believe that it was dead on accurate. We would go into Pittsburgh late in the year, you'd score 2 runs in the first inning, and the next thing you know, they wouldn't score a run for 8 innings. And it was just one of those things. So that's something that they can capitalize on going forward.
And a base hit by Margot. He's 1 for 2. Leadoff man for the Padres, and the first 2 have reached here in the top of the 3rd.
See, a lot of these guys are just slashers, swinging down through the ball, trying to put the ball on the ground and run. It's a lot of speed, not a lot of power, but we'll get it done against a guy like Lance Lynn if they can keep hitting the ball through the hole.
So runners at first and second. Asuaje at the plate, and he looks at a strike. And an infield hit back in the first. What do you think it is? Guys just get amped up for those games against a first place Chicago Cubs team, and you lower it. It's just human nature when you're facing teams that are quote unquote lesser teams.
Well, I think it was just a way of him, Tony, to tell us to go out there and concentrate on getting ahead and watch these teams that are out of the race kind of just really want to go home and start working on what their plans are for the offseason. Not to be rude, but that's just the way it was. That's the way it was for us in Anaheim. And every time a team got ahead, it was just like, okay, I'm going to get my 4 at bats and I'm going to go home. And I think it's a learned thing that you have to keep grinding it out. Yeah, of course teams want to play against the Chicago Cubs and the Yankees and the Cardinals and teams like that, but September, it's time to go home if you're out of the race, and that's just the way it works. And I remember over and over just jumping on teams, and you would see it would be 5 or 6 to 1 with 2 or 3 hits. The teams would just kind of basically have nothing to play for.
That's it out of play. And that's where you get a little worried when you think about the San Francisco Giants. Of their 35 games remaining, they have 20 of the 35 against the Rockies, Diamondbacks, Brewers, Cardinals. All teams fighting for a postseason spot, and a team in San Francisco that has absolutely nothing to lose with good players. There's some good players there.
Well, and what will probably happen there is they're going to bring up some guys from the minor league system.
Good point, yeah.
And give them a chance to play. Maybe take a couple of their veterans and rest them and make sure that if they are sore, beat up, hurt, sit them down for the year. You'll see a lot of guys, I think, this year start to come up and say, done for the year, going to rest, done for the year, done for the year. They'll do that now, and they'll make it public knowledge. But get some of the younger guys up and let them play and let them get some experience to see what they can do and if they can handle the big leagues in case there are some roster moves the next year.
That's pulled foul, 1-2. That's the other side of it too. You're not really familiar with some of those young players. They come up, they're excited, they're ready to roll. This grind, this long season.
Well, we used to laugh because you would go to spring training and the first 4 or 5 innings all the veterans would play. The game would be, an hour long, and you would see some line drives and some first pitch swings, and then all of a sudden we'd call them the B bombers. You'd bring in the minor league guys and even the guys that don't get to play a lot in the big leagues, and the next thing you know, it's 11-10. The last 4 or 5 innings is the
Guys
B bomber. We would
through.
say, yeah, the B bombers got them again. They went out there and scored 10 runs in 4 innings. So, I mean, there's no laughing matter when young players come up out of AAA, because those are the guys that scare you. Those are the guys that are really trying to push and make a roster for the following year.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Runners at first and second. This will be the 9th pitch of the at bat coming up. Mentioned earlier, the Cardinals last 6 games have won all 6 against San Diego. They've outscored the Padres 42-18 in those games. And the 2-2 is fouled back.
The one thing about having a young team, though, when you come from AAA to the big leagues, and talk about it all the time, the pitching is so much better and so much different. As a pitcher, you just attack hitters in a way that they're not used to, and that's when you get behind, you do throw them sliders and breaking balls, and when you get ahead, you keep trying to bury them. It's not as easy like in AA, AAA. You're going to get a 2-0 fastball. You're going to get a 3-1 fastball, 3-0 fastball. Up here, you can get anything at any time. So if you attack them that way, you can very easily walk through a lineup of a bunch of AAA players. But if you just throw them fastballs early and often, they're going to try to jump on it, and they're going to try and pound it.
And it's 2 balls and 2 strikes. Runners at first and second. And right now he can't put away the number 2 hitter in this Padres lineup. The 2-2 pitch. Outside, 3-2. Lance Lynn, his last start, held the Red Sox to 2 runs, 1 earned over 6 innings. That was on Wednesday night at Fenway Park. He took a no decision. It was a crushing 5-4 loss in walk-off fashion. 3-2. Even Lynn's getting a little frustrated.
A lot of foul balls. Like I said, those are the guys you got to attack, and sometimes these guys that just try to put the ball in play can sit up there all day long and foul pitches off, and that's frustrating as a pitcher.
Lance Lynn, 3-2 lifetime against the Padres. Hasn't faced them since July 15th of 2015. Runners at first and second, the 3-2, and he wins that battle. Struck him out, and strikeout number 2 for Lynn. 13 pitches in that at bat. Didn't want to go inside, it looked like. Takes a deep breath now, and Pirela will be the batter. He lined out to right first time up. .13-pitch at bat. Solarte had a 10-pitch at bat. So out of the 52, that's 23 just between 2 batters. Lynn would love the double play. Get back in that dugout and cool off. Was at a function tonight emceeing with Michael Gersh, the Cardinals general manager, and of course the subject of Lynn got brought up, what the Cardinals may do, and he said, look, we haven't decided one way or another if we're not going to bring him back or if we decide to. Many believe it's a foregone conclusion. It looks like he hit him, and he did. He's hit 2 in the inning. Lynn, of course, a free agent to be.
Just another deep bruise.
Yeah.
You're going to get hit. That's the way to get hit.
Clayton Richard, Margot, and Pirela all aboard. Bases loaded for Solarte, who has 13 home runs. And the first pitch to him is a ball outside. This might be a good time for one of those visits to catch his breath. He's had a long at bat there with Aswahe.
I think this ball's a little, it's running a little bit more today. I think his release point's a little up and down, and I think Yadi just, especially after that last pitch, maybe go out there and remind him he's maybe not getting on top, maybe rushing a little bit, and not to mention those long at bats definitely out there in the steamy summer of St. Louis will take a toll on you.
Well, Solarte is an everyday player, and this is only his second at bat this season with the bases loaded. And the 1-0 pitch by Lynn. Hit out of play, 1 ball and 1 strike, lined into the seats. Well, the Cardinals have allowed at least 5 runs in each of their last 11 games. Only 2 Cardinal teams have had longer streaks in the live ball era. 1929 Cardinals and back in 2003. Lynn trying to change that tonight. From behind home plate, the 1-1. 2-1.
See that fastball run away right there from the lefty.
Here's a 2-1. And that's driven out to right field. That ball will get down. 1 hops off the wall. 2 runs at least will score. Here comes a third. Solarte clears him. 3-0 San Diego.
Try to go away with the fastball right there. Didn't get it away. Got it down the middle of the plate and hit 2 guys that inning. And all of a sudden now bases loaded double. Comes into a 3-0 game here in the 3rd.
So Solarte now has driven in 50, and this is Will Myers.
All of a sudden, if you look up and now you're in a grind, it's almost got 60 pitches here and only 1 out in the 3rd. So San Diego's doing a nice job of fouling pitches off and taking pitches and getting a big hit right there.
Lance Lynn, one thing he does more times than not, gives you at least 6 innings, keeps you close. That's into center, and the catch is made by Fowler. He's looking for his 9th consecutive quality start here tonight. So every 5th day you're getting a chance to win behind Lance Lynn. James Paxton on that list, along with Jake Arrieta, who's rounding back into form. So 2 outs, runner at second, and Corey Spangenberg will be the batter who struck out his first time up. And the first pitch in the dirt. It's been an odd year for the Cardinals. A lot of ups and downs. Just when you think the team's going to start to roll, they had won 8 straight. They fall back. Had a tough road trip. Here's a 1-0.
Funny, they've been very streaky on both sides.
Yeah.
And you get a lot of offense, you win 8 in a row, all of a sudden the offense cools down and then the pitching kind of goes south a little bit. Pitching was good early, offense and defense was struggling a little bit. It's been something, and it's why it's so hard to win year in and year out, because it's so hard to put together a solid game or a solid season. From, you're talking about offense, defense, and pitching. It's all got to go right for you to be able to win 60% of your games.
Well, how good has Lance Lynn been has allowed more than 2 earned runs in a start for the first time since June 29th, when he gave up 3 earned against Arizona. Long time ago. 2 balls, 1 strike on Spangenberg. Ground ball, gloved by Jerko, off balance throw. What a play, Jed Jerko. Lynn not happy. Hit a couple of guys, and with the bases loaded, Solarte the double. Frustrating inning. 3-0 San Diego. Krispy Kreme dozen deal. Cardinals get 9 hits tonight. You're invited into Krispy Kreme tomorrow. Receive a dozen of their original glazed donuts for only $3.99. And stop by one of the 5 St. Louis area Krispy Kreme locations or the locations in Bloomington or Springfield, Illinois for this sensational deal. Mark McGwire just recognized here at the ballpark. Video tribute. He heads into the Cardinals Hall of Fame on Saturday. Here's Stephen Piscotty. 8 games at AAA to what the Cardinals and Piscotty agreed was kind of like hitting the reset button, just clearing his mind, getting right. And in those 8 games, 4 home runs and drove in 7.
Tell you what, whether you believe it or not, when you're a starter, if you're not performing, there's still a lot of pressure on you. Even though if you have a contract or don't have a contract or you've been starting all year, if you hit a skid, you know people are watching and you know people are looking over your shoulder, and so you don't want to be a burden on your team. So sometimes, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that you'd go down to AAA, but that's a great attitude for him to have, because hitting the reset button is exactly what he needed.
And it's 3-2. Take a look here. Missouri Lottery Fox Tracks. Was it a strike? Caught the bottom of the zone.
The old pitcher's pitch.
3-2. Into center at a base hit for Piscotty. The Cubs and Reds are tied at 3. Keep an eye on that tonight. Major league hitters on a pitch down the middle, they just don't miss.
Especially when it's below 95.
Yeah.
94. I mean, that ball was right there. It was probably 92. What a difference it makes. The 4 or 5 miles an hour in velocity is incredible.
Here's Colton Wong. And a base hit into left field. He just continues to hit those lefties. the key for you, Jimmy, is a lefty against a lefty is?
Well, I think that keeping his shoulder in there, but also I believe making that adjustment and not over swinging and has allowed him to keep his head on the ball and stay compact and really work on just hitting the barrel. And right there, not trying to do too much, just hit the ball on the barrel and let it happen. And that's what he's been doing most of this second half of the season.
Isn't that something? 358 against the lefties, and that's how you play every day.
Well, yeah, if you're, right now in this day and age, they're doing a lot of matchups. So if you go out there and you hit against lefties, then what are they going to take you out against the righties? So,
right.
Yeah, he's improving his chances to stay in that lineup every day.
So the first baseman, Myers, way in on the grass. Third baseman, Solarte as well. Anticipating a bunt here from Lance Lynn. And at this particular spot, he is batting from the right side of the plate. This year, 3 for 42. He's got a couple of doubles from each side of the plate, 4 sacrifices, and he struck out 18 times. One ball, one strike. Mentioned the Cubs and Reds. That's John Lackey and Homer Bailey. Chicago has won 26 of the last 35 against Cincinnati. And they're 2.5 in front of Milwaukee. Puts it in play. And the only out is at third. Could have been 2 for sure, maybe 3.
I don't know. They say around the game you'll see something new every day. I don't believe I've ever seen anything like that in my entire career. He was really stuck in no man's land, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, I don't know if there was a guy at second base.
Well, that's the point, because your second baseman is going to cover the bag at first.
Wow. Can you imagine if that runs into no outs? That's a big mistake right there if he doesn't get at least 1 out. You can see he's still breathing hard right there.
So runners at first and second for Matt Carpenter, who's 4 for 12 with a home run and a double against this lefty.
Don't see too many 6 unassisted putouts at third base, do you?
No, sir. Well, if it's straight up, that's a triple play. Very well could have been.
If the third baseman standing there, I would say for sure. You could just see right there, being a little bit out of position created chaos for him. And the only thing that he knows in those situations is turn and look at second base, and he looked at second and there was no one there.
Here's the 0-1. That's in the dirt. Take a look at what's happening at second base with Lance Lynn at the plate. We've been close.
He's definitely not going to get there. I'm going to have to go with that was a triple take. Not a double take, but a triple take. That's some quarterback feet right there going. Stay on your toes. Get the arm up.
Here's a 1-1. Clayton Richard is one of those pitchers that has come back from thoracic outlet syndrome. Missed all of 2014. Actually shaved down the collarbone. Some doctors will take out a rib or two to alleviate the pressure, the nerves, and the blood vessels. And here he is pitching again in the big leagues. 2-2. He struck out 2. He's walked 1. Induced a ground ball double play. 3-0 our score. The 2-2 pitch to Carpenter instead of check on Wong at second base. Keep an eye on some of the wild card teams as well. Bottom of the 6th. Arizona leading the Mets 6-1. Patrick Corbin making that start. Don't look now. Miami, one of the hotter teams in baseball and in the wild card picture. They lead 6-0 in the top of the 3rd. Way outside. Kansas City in the top of the 2nd, a 1-0 lead over Colorado. And by the way, Miami won the first game of their doubleheader against the Phillies 12-8. Later tonight, Milwaukee at San Francisco. Jimmy Nelson and Jeff Samardzija. See if Carpenter can't do some damage here. 3-2 the count. Runners at first and second. Carpenter with a drive out to right, and the catch is made. Wong does not tag up, and there's 2 outs. And it brings in Tommy Pham. Pham grounded out to short, first time up. And Pham looks at strike 1.
See the outfield right there swung away around to right field or right center field, and actually center fielder's pretty shallow. They must want to pitch Tommy Pham down and away, see if he doesn't push the ball into right field. Well, and we're gonna go up and in. So if I'm playing defense and I'm watching that, I gotta say, wait a second, sure you want me standing over here? Did you not watch with that ball he hit in Pittsburgh?
Here's a 1-1 pitch to the Cardinals left fielder. Pham hits it down the right field line. It's slicing, and that ball is foul.
And that's what they're expecting him to do, and I think that that pitch up and in is just a show pitch. Try to keep him from leaning out over the plate. And then they're going to go back down and away and see if he just doesn't slice something into right center field, trying to stay away from his power.
One ball and 2 strikes.
It kind of makes me think about pitching to Mark McGwire back in the day. How are you going to pitch away from his power?
The check swing, and he went. A strikeout of Tommy Pham. So says Ron Kolpov. And the threat is through. The Cardinals got the first 2 on at first and second. Nobody out, and cannot score. 3-0. The Cardinals in their bullpen trying to get a little bit healthier for the stretch run. More on that. Let's check in with Jim.
Yeah, some encouraging news. Kevin Segrist will go out on a rehab tomorrow with Palm Beach. Segrist has been on the DL with a forearm issue. He threw his 4th bullpen today, about 30 pitches per outing. He told me they've been getting progressively better. He told me I'm not 100%. I can't say that, but I'm close. Dan Segrist told me he expects to throw in a couple of games. Then if all goes well, he plans on being back. Also, we should know more about what's next for Trevor Rosenthal tomorrow. His doctors have reviewed all of the Cardinals' medical testing and results and are ready to compare notes with Cardinal officials. There's still a chance they may want their own testing on Trevor to do it themselves. But again, we should get some clarity on that tomorrow, Dan.
All right, Jimmy, thank you. The first pitch here in the 4th inning is popped up. Shallow right. Piscotty. Foul territory, makes the catch. Austin Hedges, the first out here at the top of the 4th. Looked like that ball played some tricks there on Piscotty.
Ball went a long way. He had to go a long way for it, and that ball ran a long way down in that corner. I'll tell you, when you're a corner outfielder and you run that far, it doesn't matter what you can see, where you are, what you know. You know you're running out of room, and you just cannot take your eye off that ball. You see, he started to buckle down a little bit and be ready to hit the wall.
That's no fun, is it?
No, that's a scary feeling. It's like running back on a ball you can't take your eyes off, knowing you're going to hit the wall eventually. You just don't know when.
Here's Dusty Coleman, who flied to right first time up.
I was watching Segrist throw, and another problem that presents itself here in the next 9 to 15 days is you're running out of room in the minor league system as far as games.
Sliding catch there for Piscotty. Kickoff Cardinals Hall of Fame weekend this Friday. 30,000 fans 16 and older will be surprised at the gates when they find out which mystery Cardinals Hall of Fame manager bobblehead they'll receive. It's courtesy of Equifax. Might get red, Whitey, Joe Torre, Tony La Russa. Visit cardinals.com/promotions for tickets. Speaking of Hall of Famers, well wishes to Lou Brock. He's watching tonight, and hopefully we'll see Lou this weekend with the red jacket. Talked to Chris Carpenter the other day. He's coming back in town. You'll be there, and if not, I'll find out where you're at and we'll get you here. Clayton Richard hit by a pitch first time up. An inning back in the 3rd in which Lynn hit 2. Two balls, 1 strike with 2 outs and nobody on. I was talking with Carp about that over the weekend, and he said, I didn't realize how emotional I would be at the Cardinals Hall of Fame ceremony being inducted. He said, I knew I'd be emotional, but I didn't realize just how emotional it was for me personally.
Yeah, and see, I didn't think I'd be emotional, and it really takes over you when you start to realize what you're going through and what the people around you mean to you, and it's pretty special, and it really gets to you.
3rd strikeout for Lance Lynn, one of the top rookies in baseball. Off to a tremendous start in his major league career. That's Paul DeYoung, and he's coming up when we come back. had with a team high 20 home runs. And he's driven in 48. Grounded out to third his first time up. And he leads it off here in the bottom of the fourth. The Kubota power stats with DeYoung, the highest slugging percentage at home. He's done a lot of damage here at Busch Stadium. And it's at 714. That's not just rookies. That's anybody in the game.
There's a few names on that list,
wow.
by the way.
Talking with Paul today, and he's been through a myriad of injuries in his career. Had a torn ACL freshman year of high school, then his sophomore year of high school, broke his thumb as a catcher in college. He redshirted his first year, and he said he had probably 18 starts in his college career behind the plate. And then he was playing second base, third base. And he said when he went to a wooden bat league is when the power began for him. He said, I've noticed a lot of guys are pitching me up now here in the major leagues. He said you really have to be disciplined at this level because they hit their spots so well to have them bring the ball down. You know, don't chase. He said I can hit that ball up, but if I get it down just a little bit, that's where I'm doing my damage. What a story, Jimmy, he's been.
And he does a really good job, like you said, of being patient. He's not trying to do too much. And something that's nice about having some power is you don't have to cheat too much and you're not swinging out of control. I find that interesting, though, that he got power, or he said he got some power when he got the wood bat. It's usually the other way around, and it takes time to develop.
Rounds back to Richard for the out. Krispy Kreme doesn't deal. Cardinals get 9 hits tonight. You're invited into Krispy Kreme tomorrow. Receive a dozen of their original glazed donuts for only $3.99. And stop by one of the 5 St. Louis area Krispy Kreme locations or the locations in Bloomington or Springfield, Illinois for this sensational deal.
You know what I found when I got the wood bat in my hand? The strikeout.
It's, you know, for our young viewers that play the game, and especially those strong enough to handle a wooden bat, you know, you get to high school, certainly college players, that sweet spot has shrunk immensely. So when you get a pitch inside where you might get away with it in the college game off the barrel, you know, in
jam shot,
yeah, you might carry that out to center.
Splinters in your hands.
And here it gets shattered and it's going nowhere.
Well, I think I struck out once or twice my senior in high school and put the wood bat in my hand.
Sharply to short. Fowler. Coleman makes the play. Nicely done.
When you put the wood bat in your hand, not only is it a different type of swing, playing against better competition instantly. And I went from striking out twice in an entire year to striking out twice a game for about 3 or 4 weeks straight. Pretty big jump. Nice play right there.
So 2 outs, and it brings in Yadier Molina. The Cardinals with just 2 hits tonight. Molina walked his first time up and looks at a strike. Clayton Richard now owns a World Series ring. After his brief time with the Cubs a year ago, make 1 appearance, you're getting a ring. And the 0-2. Molina shoots it fair inside the third base line, off the sidewall. Thinking 2. Spangenberg's throw, not in time. Yadi is safe at second base.
He hits that ball down the line, and every time you hit the ball down the line, you're thinking it's rolling all the way to the wall, and here that ball jets out, lands right in the left fielder's hands, and a little bit of a nice slide for Yadi. We were talking about the right fielder running all the way into the corner. You could see right there just the play happening to the second baseman, and he had to move a couple of feet, and he lost where he was. It's weird when you don't have your bearings about you, or you're looking for something and you don't even realize your feet are moving. You can see he's waiting for the ball and he's drifting, and all of a sudden he turns around and he's 3-4 feet off the bag, and he's still trying to tag the guy who's sliding in.
Here's the 0-1 pitch. Jed Jerko at the plate, grounded into a double play. Back in the second inning. Hit in all 6 games against the Padres, his former team a year ago. He's homered in 5 straight against San Diego. And the 1-1. Jerko, deep left, has a chance, and he's done it again. Unbelievable. He's killing the Padres. 18th home run this year.
Home run on command for you right there, partner.
Eight games against the Padres, his average near 600, and his 7th home run against San Diego. The Padre fans watching are saying, "Are you kidding me?" Highest OPS, on base plus slugging against San Diego. Jerko, the best. Here's a 1-1. And that's well hit. Deep right center off the bat of Piscotty. Gone! We're tied! A 2-out rally here in the 4th inning. Brand new game. Welcome back, Steven.
Contagious in August. These guys are getting excited to hit, and I tell you what, you start to get the notice of each individual out there, and they start trying to pick it up a notch, and you can see getting excited to go back up there and hit. Home runs are awesome for a team that's in the hunt.
2-run homer by Jerko, solo shot by Piscotty, and all of a sudden it's a new game. 3-3, and all this done with 2 outs.
And a nice little break for Lance Lynn, too.
You bet. Here's the 0-2 to Colton Wong. He laced a base hit to left. His first time up, and he goes. Strikeout of Wong. And number 4 tonight for Clayton Richard. It was a double by Molina. And then Jed Jerko strikes again against the Padres. Follow that with this blast off the bat of Piscotty. 3-3 as we head to the 5th. Jerko, a 2-run shot, and then Piscotty on the right, who's 2 for 2. Busy inning for St. Louis. Yadier Molina now 11th on the Cardinals all-time hit list as he passes Ted Simmons. 1,705 hits wearing that Cardinal uniform. And as you mentioned, Jimmy, now it's a brand new game and probably a new lease on life in this game for Lance Lynn. As he gets the top of the lineup, Manuel Margot. Jerko's home run, 374 feet. Piscotty, 416. 106 miles per hour off the bat of Stephen Piscotty. 2 balls and no strikes. Margot is 1 for 2. Single to right and scored. Reds have jumped out to a 6-4 lead over Chicago. That's in the bottom of the 6th. Cubs have gone 2 for 11 with runners in scoring position in that game. We'll keep an eye on it. Right down the middle, 3-1. That's it out of play. Piscotty's last home run, you may recall, was the interleague series against Baltimore. And that was midway through June. He had a 2-home run game. It's now 7 straight games with an RBI for Jerko against San Diego. And that's a leadoff base hit. The T-Mobile Unlimited baseball break. Mike Trout, since his return from the DL, he just might be the MVP again. Curtis Granderson wearing Dodgers blue, and he hits a grand slam last night. Andrew Miller back on the DL. That's a big loss for Cleveland. And also Danny Salazar went on the DL with an elbow issue. Cleveland leads their division by 5.5 in front of Minnesota. Minnesota, though, has a chance to squeak in with the wild card potentially. The Yankees 2.5 in front of Minnesota. Those two would be in if it ended today. The Angels half game out, 6 teams within 5 of the wild card. The bunt is down. Molina pounces on it. Throws a strike to first. He makes it look easy, and it's anything but.
I almost didn't think he was going to get to that one either, and I looked back up and he was on top of it. And once he's got it in his grasp, it's an out. Good play.
Carpenter has thankfully caught that in the webbing.
He threw that ball hard. I think he was just throwing it down there to prove a point. You know, every now and then you see those guys in between innings. We were watching, I think it was the kid in Milwaukee throwing between innings, and I said, I wouldn't run on this guy.
No.
And then I think that was a kind of a statement throw right there by Yachty. You can't bunt on me.
Pirela, Jose Pirela, is lined out, hit by a pitch and scored. The bases loaded double by Solarte, and that pitch up and in. Well, good to see Big Mac in town. He and his wife Stephanie have a 14-year-old Max, 13-year-old Mason, and 7-year-old triplet daughters. Said he loved it here in St. Louis, wanted to be closer though to home. It's about a 75-minute commute from home to the ballpark. And I see Big Mac there, 586 career home runs, and then Andy Green with 2. Takes all kinds in this game, right?
Yep.
He changed the fortunes of this franchise. Here's a 2-0 pitch. DeYoung to his left, and he makes the play. 1999. Mark McGwire had 65 home runs, and I remember calling this one off the scoreboard at Shea.
Watch for this one.
Wow. 502-foot home run off the bat of Mark McGwire.
The opposite way.
It's incredible. So 2 outs and a runner at second, and it brings in Solarte. Mark is off the Hall of Fame ballot. He topped out at 23.7% that 10-year period. But he does head into the Cardinals Hall of Fame this weekend. And Solarte hits it out to right, and he's done it again. This one to the wall. A run will score, and he has driven in all 4 tonight. The Padres go back on top. It's now 4-3. Looked like he went down and got it.
It's the same swing and just a different pitch. Little slider. Little breaking ball. Typical lefty swing down. Kind of threw it a little bit. Just almost exact same spot in the outfield.
We always say it down and in to a left-hander. Dangerous.
Yeah, if you throw it down and in enough, though, they'll just bang it off their shins.
Roll over on it.
Depends if he's a pull hitter or he's just a straight up the middle guy. But so I think those stereotypes are starting to go away. Everyone's just got their own type of swing. A lot of guys are trying to lift the ball now. And I see on Instagram all these different little hitting clinics, and they're doing the most bizarre stuff to try to get lift.
That's what McGwire talks about, that the game is being taught way differently.
Totally differently.
And it's lined to third, and Jerko with the catch. And Myers is 0 for 3. Solarte has driven in 4, and the Padres on top by a run. Jack in the Box. Come try the new really big chicken sandwich combo for only $3.99. Limited time only. And by your local St. Louis area Volkswagen dealers. Visit VWDealer.com. It's a look at the UMB Champions Club. The place to be on a hot summer night. Here's Lance Lynn. And he looks at strike one. We're underway here in the bottom of the 5th. The National League wild card, it's Colorado by a half game as Lynn puts it in play to short. They're in front of Arizona, and Milwaukee and St. Louis not too far behind. Milwaukee 3 and St. Louis 3.5 out. So Lynn is the first out, and it brings in Carpenter. Carpenter has struck out and also flied out to right. Mentioned earlier how the Cardinals have to play better against lesser teams down the stretch. And earlier in the season, we talked about being better at home. The key in the driver's seat post All-Star break. And the Cardinals have been much better here at Busch Stadium.
So you're just saying you want them to be better all the time?
Pretty much. Pretty much. That sums it up.
You got to be better on Fridays. You got to be better at home, better at night.
Really good in
September.
September.
On the road, and really good in September and October.
That'll help. You get in and you never know. Say it all the time. So baseball is such a crazy game in that regard. Where you look at basketball, you look at, to an extent, football, the better teams are going to win. You know, they're more gifted, they have better athletes, whatever the case. Baseball, you're one pitcher getting hot away from, or two, from dominating in a postseason.
Especially in that first series, I think when you're best out of 5, I think sometimes anything can happen, because if you get hot game 1 and 2, you're basically, like I said, then the other team realizes there's no way they can win 3 in a row, or mentally think that they're done.
Here's a 2-2, and Carpenter waves at it, strikes out. Number 5 tonight for Richard. I go back to your 06 club, and you all looked at the lineup going into San Diego and said, wait a minute, this is the lineup we were supposed to have. There's Edmonds, he's back in. Eckstein, he's back in. Pujols, for the most part, healthy. Chris Duncan was on a tear. Preston Wilson carried the club at one point. And you got hot. And Rafael Belliard makes maybe the play of the postseason.
Play of the year.
And you started, that's Ronnie Belliard, started giving away that game ball that they do in football.
And I think that was the series that Piazza dropped the pop fly too, right?
Piazza dropped it. Pujols hit a home run.
Hit the next pitch in the stands. Here we go.
We head to the 6th. Padres on top. The Hall of Fame induction ceremony this weekend, live at Ballpark Village, and it's open to the public. That'll be at 2 o'clock, Cardinals.com/Hall of Fame, and it is open to the public.
I think the call that Joe Buck did on 70 was amazing. Was it 70 when he said, how much more can you give us?
That was 70. And Mike Shannon's call was take a ride on history. Great call.
And I have the 62 plaque hanging in my basement, by the way, that was up on the wall.
Do you really?
Yeah.
How'd you get that?
Yeah, you know, I was
Got
kind
to know
of
some people, huh?
I was around the field when it was starting to get taken apart, and I knew exactly where I wanted to go.
So you stole it?
No, I asked if I could take it. I asked permission if I could steal it, actually.
Hold on, Jimmy. Hey, Mr. DeWitt. Yeah, okay, I'll talk to Jimmy about that. Cardinals Hall of Fame, you bet.
They're welcome to have it.
2-1 on Spangenberg. 4-3 our score. Remember, 62, picking up his son Matt, who, by the way, this will floor people, I think. He is 30 years old.
Laughed when he said that today, too.
30. I still envision little Matt. Well, he's about 6'5", and Mark's saying that his son is doing great. Love's coming back to St. Louis. 3-2 pitch. Couple of hops and one to his left. So he heads into the Cardinals Hall of Fame on Saturday, again open to the public with St. Louis. 220 home runs, nearly 500 RBIs, record-setting 70 and 98, three-time All-Star with the Cardinals. 1996, the Cardinals went into postseason play, and that was the first year of the ownership group led by Bill DeWitt. 97, McGwire got here, and the final couple of months were just remarkable. He got off, though, to a terrible start. You may recall that. He was really cold, wasn't swinging the bat well, then went on a tear, announced that he was re-upping with St. Louis. 98 hit 70, 99 hit 65. Talked about it a lot. Cardinals, the fans were coming in droves, over 3 million, and early for BP and various things that were
BP
around
on the
Mark
road.
McGwire, and they took that money and invested in Jim Edmonds and Fernando Vina and Dave Veers and Darryl Kyle, and went out and got players and became a championship club. And say what you will about Mark and what's happened and transpired, but the beginning of this great run starts with him.
Thank you very much to that man right there.
Yep.
Might not be the St. Louis Cardinals as we know it without what he did those 2 years. Every time I see the highlight, I can't wait to see where the ball ends up in the stands or out of the stadium.
I was surprised when I asked you if McGwire was influential in having you re-sign. You said, "No, not really. I liked it here anyway."
He was influential on me getting comfortable and making me a better player. Him and Tony La Russa are probably the two most important parts in the first 2 years for me. But I knew right away when I played here, within the first couple of weeks, that I knew I wanted to stay. I had come from a place where there was nothing. I'd sit out in center field in Anaheim before Artie Moreno bought the team in the early 90s, and when we'd play the Yankees and the Red Sox, there would be 10 times more guest fans, Yankee fans, Red Sox fans, Indian fans than there were Angel fans. And it was hard, but it was part of the era there. And then all of a sudden I went from that to this. I mean, I can't imagine ever wanting to go somewhere else and chancing not being able to play in an atmosphere like this ever again.
Well, McGwire was kind of the case study with that. You know, they took a chance and said, well, just come here and see if you like it. He fell in love with it. The 2-2 is popped up. And the catch is made by Jed Jerko. Cardinals hit a home run, get a free frozen Coke or McDouble the next day with the McDonald's app. Download it for exclusive deals. And then you came here and they said, well, let's try this with a guy that's a free agent to be in Jim Edmonds. Let's see if he falls in love with this like McGwire did. And then it was Scott Rowland. Maybe he might like it here. They rolled the dice, and that particular way of going about it in the early 1990s, or rather late 1990s, early 2000s, it paid dividends in a big, big way.
I'll tell you what, too, that old stadium, the fans were on top of you, and you could hear everything they said, and it was just something about it. It was just so intimate. It was so much fun to stand out there in center field with all these people screaming at you, cheering for you. That special bond with the people that are in the outfield when you're an outfielder, and it's just something that you can't explain, and I loved every second of it.
Mark came back into coaching in 2009, and he was recently asked about managing, and he said, yeah, it's there. I talked to him about it. He said, sure, if somebody would approach me, would I do it? Yeah. He said, but the reality is I love the game and it's in my blood. That's exactly what he said, and I felt I owed it to the game to try to teach. 2-1 pitch, 3-1.
With all due respect, he has his hands full right now. Young team, tough ballpark to hit. A lot of young players to teach.
Here's a 3-1 pitch to the 8th place hitter Coleman, and it swung on and missed. But Matthew McGuire, 30 years old. Makes us all feel a little bit older, doesn't it?
I can't believe Max is in high school. We were living in Southern California in the offseason, and I remember those kids were tiny. Barely old enough to dribble a basketball, running around the yard.
And that pitch is taken for a ball. Boy, it looked good, too.
That's that pitch I'm talking about right there. Probably just at the top of the zone, barely out of it, but I think that's a strike. Some of those guys don't like to swing at it. You could see Lance was kind of a little miffed at where it was.
So 2 outs and a runner at first. So the Padres at least get Richard through the lineup. Mentioned that he played both football and baseball at Michigan. The Wolverines' first 2-sport baseball players since Robbie Reed. They remember that name. He played basketball for Michigan. And Richard, the backup QB on the football team to an NFL quarterback with Miami, Chad Henne. And in high school, he was the class valedictorian, state of Indiana's Mr. Football and Mr. Baseball out of McCutcheon High School, Lafayette, Indiana. Makes you wonder if he grew up a Cardinal fan.
Throw Mr. Basketball in there and Scott rolling. I love that terminology. Mr. Baseball, Mr. Basketball, Mr. Football,
Mr. Big Mac. Hall of Famer on Saturday. 4-3 San Diego. Impact Foundation. And now is your chance to play in the 5th annual Big League Impact Fantasy Football Challenge. It's coming up. It'll be this Friday. Adam, some of his teammates will be there, friends, for a live draft right here at the ballpark and play against them in the 2017 Fantasy Football League. All proceeds benefit Cardinals Care, Operation Food Search, Big League Impact Global Initiative. And for more information, just head to bigleagueimpact.org. And I can tell you firsthand, they get into it. If you play fantasy football, you'll be rubbing elbows with some of the Cardinal players, and certainly Adam Wainwright. And if you come out Friday, it's a chance to take in a game and pictures and autographs and then play fantasy football with the guys. Does a great job with that. Here's Paul DeYoung. Mentioned that Paul DeYoung went to Illinois State, the Redbirds. He was a biochemistry major. He was going to be a doctor. I said, do you have any aspirations of going back to school? He said, absolutely not. I want to be a big leaguer for a long time.
I was with you on that one.
Talking with Paul today, and Al talks about it a lot during the telecast, and I couldn't agree more. How Paul has just quietly established himself, and the manner in which he carries himself. A big leaguer. Looks like he belongs.
He does. You can just tell by the way he walks around, and doesn't seem like he ever gets 2 up, 2 down. His at-bats are always the same. He's not going to be successful every time to the plate, and he knows that, so he's just going to wait for his chance, get a pitch, and hit it.
And
plays defense and just does it all with just the way you're supposed to go about it.
And a strike on the inside corner. So the former catcher that was drafted as a catcher by Pittsburgh, which may shock a lot of people, now a big league shortstop, strikes out. And that's how we start play here in the home half of the 6th. Well, what have you seen from Clayton Richard here tonight?
Just what they said, moving the ball around, keeping the ball down. He's keeping the ball really down. Ball will sink and cut. A little slider. Not a whole lot of pitches, I think, above the knees unless he's really trying to go up there on purpose. Tough
really does keep the ball low.
Yeah, and the tough thing about this is he's kind of throwing from the side a little bit and slinging it, so it takes an extra second to figure out which direction the ball is going to go, because if it over the top you can kind of see the spin quicker, but when it's off to the side it kind of slings it and it's a little tough to tell if it's going to cut or dive.
Fowler is 0 for 3. Our Budweiser What's on Tap, game 2 of this series coming up tomorrow right here on Fox Sports Midwest. The Padres and the Cardinals tomorrow 6:30, and Luke Weaver will make that start. He's 1-1. In terms of Mike Leake and his next start, and it's been a rough go here recently for Mike after his fabulous beginning of the season. Mike Matheny said today with the assembled media, it's still kind of up in the air. We'll see exactly where it all plays out. His next scheduled start would be Saturday. And a strike to Yadier Molina, who has doubled and scored and also walked. Oh, 0-2. So the Cardinals began their rally back in the 4th inning with 2 outs. It was a double by Molina, and then back-to-back home runs. 0-2 lifted down the right field line and out of play.
Facing a guy like this pitching, he's going to throw the ball down in the zone. You have to be so disciplined to not want to go after the ball down in the zone, and yet to know when it's knee high or thigh high that it's going to actually be a ball. Sometimes you want to beat the guy to his pitch.
Yadi, high fly ball, deep left, and we are tied into the bullpen of the Padres. The Cardinals' 3rd home run, his 15th of the year, and we're tied. It's 4-4.
good look at this breaking ball right here. Never really got down. It went a little too far sideways. Ran right into the barrel of Yadi's bat. Yadi pulls his hands in, gets the barrel to the ball. The ball stays up just long enough for him to get square barrel on it, just enough to get over the fence.
Craig Stammen, I believe, the right-hander, coming out of the pen. The Chevy called to the pen. We're tied again. It's 4-4. It's 4-4. Normally we're talking about Paul DeJong in the home runs. Well, this time it's Yadier Molina. It's Jed Jerko and Steven Piscotty. 2-out rally. Nissan drives in the game. This a 2-run shot in the fourth. Piscotty right after Jerko. That tied it up 3-3. This ties it up 4-4. The Nissan drives in the game. Craig Stammen, right-hander, is in for the San Diego Padres. So Richard gives them 5 2/3 and 4 runs tonight. 46th appearance for this right-hander. Jerko puts it in play slowly left side. Solarte. Yadi's second home run on an 0-2 count this year, the 12th of his career. On the season, number 15. 4-4. The Bowman in relief of Lance Lynn, who goes 6 innings tonight and gave up 4 runs. 62nd appearance for Matt Bowman. He has been used a ton out of the bullpen for the Cardinals, and he's had a very good year. 3.83 ERA. Hyundai pitch arsenal: the fastball, the change, and the slider from Matt Bowman.
Good sinker, good slider. Gets the ball down, the ball really runs. He's very effective. Keep the ball below the knees, just like Clayton Richard been doing all night.
Season high 3 home runs allowed by the lefty.
I was going to say, just got a couple of pitches up. That happens.
Here's Margot, the leadoff man for San Diego, the top of their lineup, and he's 2 for 3. And the 0-1 pitch. Ripped foul. 0-2 the count.
Nice play by the ball man.
It is a ball man impersonating the ball boy.
Got a little ovation.
Cat-like reflexes.
Well, I don't know about the cat. Maybe the Jimmy the cat, but not the real cat.
Ooh. Here's the 0-2 pitch by Bowman. Outside 1-2. Chicago has come back and they lead Cincinnati 8-6. That's in the top of the 7th. The Dodgers 8-5 over Pittsburgh. That's in the bottom of the 8th. Out in front, Jerko with a foul ball. Called by the home plate umpire as Jerko finished the play, which is what you're taught to do.
Good job by the umpire. He waited and waited. Jerko waited. The right call.
Molina is now tied for 4th among catchers in the National League with his 15 home runs, and 7th in all of baseball. Here's a 1-2 pitch. Joe Madden has been encouraging his Cub players to show up late for games here in the dog days of August. Probably not a bad idea. I mean, you've been through it season after season. I mean, you get to this point in the year, it's a tough spot for a player.
Tell you what, I think if I was the manager and you had a team that was really pushing, I would really push to get them to buy into all of it, to try to get some rest, to try to make sure they eat a little bit more, make sure you're doing the right thing every day. Show up late, whatever it takes, but take care of yourself. If you really want to win, you got what, a month and a half left of the season, or not even that anymore, but this is your chance. This is what you want to do. It takes 1 month out of your life. Do it the right way.
And when you get the proper sleep, you got to have the right alarm clock to get you up. We've got the one that's going to get you up. It's a perfect segue. It's bad that I did it this way, but so what? Trying to sell this thing. 4-4 our score here at the top of the 7th. Leadoff walk. We'll see if the Padres want to bunt here. Asuaje, an infield hit. He struck out in the 3rd and bunted back in the 5th. We'll see if they do that here. Took a very good play by Molina to get him too back in the 5th. August 27th. Don't want to miss it. Well, Mike Claiborne, he had to get up. We'll see it right there. There's Mike. He got up early and then made it to the broadcast booth. Mike Shannon laughing about it. The alarm clock. It's coming up Sunday, August 27th. And a base hit into right field. Margot can really run. He's on his way to 3rd.
Wow.
Runners at the corners and nobody out.
That would be nice to have this right here, Danny.
Pick him up, put him down like that, huh?
That doesn't do it justice. Standing up here so far away, you can really see him running.
Jose Pirela is lined out, was hit by a pitch, scored a run back in the third, and also grounded out to short. And some trouble here for the Cardinals. Runners at the corners, nobody out. See, Bowman can't get out of this jam. Many times he's coming in to clean up a mess. Well, this inning started with him with a walk and then the base hit to right. Carpenter holding at first. Jerko in a few steps near the line at third. Here's the 0-1. 0-2.
That's what I'm talking about right there with that sinker. You know sinker's coming. You have to be disciplined and not try to hit the sinker. Try to hit a strike. You can see right there he knew sinker was coming. He was looking to get the bat out front, yank something down the line, and then you just swing at it automatically because your body's telling, your brain's telling you, here comes sinker, swing at it, instead of here comes sinker, make it be waist high.
Here's the 0-2 pitch. Base hit into left on the 0-2. Run scores. Padres back on top now 5-4. The slow walk by Mike Matheny out of the Cardinal dugout. A walk and 2 singles, and that may be it here for Bowman.
So the really good sinker in and then came back with like a changeup. Just kind of left it up out over the plate. Got to get that ball down.
Zach Duke coming on when we come back. Padres back on top. It's our Chevy called to the pen. Solarte with a pair of doubles, and this is our State Farm perfect pair. Jimmy, you said pretty much identical, these swings.
2 different pitches, but ended up in the same spot on the plate pretty much, and ended up in the same spot on the field.
He's driven in 4.
When you're locked in, that's how it works.
Yep. Now he is a switch hitter, this being his lesser side, and he's in to face Zach Duke. It's now a 5-4 San Diego lead. Runners at first and second, and still nobody out. Miami sweeps the doubleheader against the Phillies. They win the second game 6-4. Bottom of the 7th, Chicago 8-6 over Cincinnati. Cubs scored 4 in the 7th. That's it out of play. They're in the top of the ninth. Dodgers leading Pittsburgh 8-5. And Arizona holds on against the Mets. That's a key game in the wild card, 7-4. JD Martinez with his 26th home run. Here's a 1-1. Pulled foul. And it's 1 ball and 2 strikes. Wild pitch. Runners advance to second and third. Eliminates the double play potential of that on the ground. And now that'll draw the infield in. See him looking back and then his focus going towards the plate. Right there.
The ball just kind of slipped out of his hand. I don't know if he got totally turned back around towards home plate like you said, looking back at the runner, but
big out here. Runners stay put. 1 away.
Nice job of coming back and throwing a good sinker right there. Throws out the pitch before. He's got himself a double play.
You'd have to think about walking Will Myers in this spot. First base open. Let's see what they want. Yeah, they've just done that. So that's the intentional walk to Myers, and Spangenberg, who hits him the left side, will be the batter.
That happens so fast. If you're not used to it, you miss it.
Yeah. Say, what happened to Will Myers?
Wait, where is he? He's not even into the dugout yet. Already standing on first.
Let's see if they want to counter here, and it looks like that they will.
I like this right here, though. So whenever you see a guy coming out of the dugout without his batting gloves on, I don't know if he's ready to hit. Normally when you have a stadium like this and you're on the bench, you've been hitting and hitting and hitting, you're standing ready to go with your batting gloves on. Hopefully they surprised him right here and brought him up cold, or a little cold at least.
This is Matt Caesar, the former Chicago Cub. Hitting .209 with 3 home runs, and he's driven in 13. He's grounded into 2 double plays this year. Bases loaded, 1 out. And the first pitch is strike.
Used to see guys stand in the on-deck circle and swing. They get called into the game, pinch hitting and swing and swing and swing and loosen and limber and do all this stuff. I always went downstairs and hit, and I just walked straight up to the plate.
Say, let's go, right?
Make them think that I wasn't ready and just kind of walk straight to the plate. I was already sweating and taking 50 swings and was ready to go. Used to drive me crazy, though. They'd call you out to pinch hit. The guy would come out in the on-deck circle and take 2 minutes to loosen up. You know he's loose, or he wouldn't be hitting.
You need to talk to Rob Manfred. Speed up the game. It's a big pitch right here. The 0-2 to Caesar. And he spoiled it. Seen Yachty on a couple of these pitches motioning towards Jed Jerko. And I'm sure part of that is to tell him what pitch is coming and whether or not he may pull the ball.
I think certain guys on the mound, they know as an infielder, you know he's going to run the ball away. And every now and then you need to be reminded, hey, heads up. We're going to try and go in right here.
Ooh, couldn't hold on. Caesar just got a piece of that baseball. And then you have the middle infielders with their glove and the open mouth, closed mouth. And then the center fielder trying to figure it all out.
I think the days of the center fielder trying to figure it all out are gone.
Here's the 0-2 pitch. Up the middle and a base hit. 1 run is in. Here comes another. A 3-run lead for San Diego. Again on an 0-2 pitch.
You said it, Danny. 0-2 right here, but look where it ends up, right down the middle. Not where he wanted it. Matt Caesar just trying to take a nice easy swing and put it in play.
Seven for San Diego. Runners at first and second. And strike 1 to Austin Hedges. Josh Lucas made his major league debut over the weekend, getting loose in the Cardinal pen. And the 0-1. 0-2. The Padres came in 16 games below 500 on the road. Caesar's first hit since July 25th. First RBI since the 21st of July. He stands at first base. No balls, 2 strikes. And the 0-2. And Busch Stadium has gotten quiet. And that ball gets away to the backstop. It's turning into an ugly inning here for the Cardinals.
I don't know if that's just a sinker right there. He didn't make it all the way to the plate, or what happened? I thought it was a changeup when it was in first motion and just didn't get there.
Ruled a wild pitch. The second wild pitch charged to Zach Duke here in the inning. He came in with runners at first and second. Threw a wild pitch, advancing the runners to second and third. Infield in. Got the ground out off the bat of Solarte. Intentional walk of Myers. And then with the bases loaded, an 0-2 single on a hit to center by Matt Caesar. Hedges hits a high fly ball out to deep left field. Pham will watch it go. It's a home run, a 3-run shot, and it's a 6-run San Diego lead.
It's actually a pretty good pitch right there. Down and in. Just got the bat out in front.
And it's another 2-strike base hit. Plagued Bowman, and now twice has plagued Zach Duke. So 10-4 our score here in the top of the 7th. Here's Dusty Coleman with 1 out and nobody on. Ground ball to Jerko. Out number 2. This is now the 12th straight game in which the Cardinals have allowed 5 or more runs. That's why you've seen the up and down play here recently. at least a major factor in that.
Yeah, when I saw that today, I thought to myself, that is a hard task to ask the offense to keep up with. Puts a lot of pressure on the defense, a lot of pressure on the pitching staff, but especially the offense, trying to figure out a way to score runs.
The switch hitting Hector Sanchez. And he digs in with 2 outs and nobody on. There's ball 1. So if the Cubs can hold on, the Cardinals cannot come back. They would drop to 4.5 back in the Central Division. That's pulled foul, 1 ball and 1 strike. A win tonight for the Cubs would take them to 10 games above the 500 mark. And the Cardinals would be just 1 game above. Here's a 1-1 pitch. 1 ball and 2 strikes. The Cardinals have 26 come from behind wins this year, but the largest deficit they've had to overcome is 4 runs. Currently at 6. And the 1-2 pitch, low and outside. And a strikeout of Sanchez. To the Make-A-Wish Foundation of Missouri, the Gateway Honda home run inning. 10-4 our score. The Padres with the lead. Stephen Piscotty with a base hit to center and a solo home run. To be followed by Colton Wong. And then a pinch hitter. Phil Maton, the new pitcher for San Diego. And here is Stephen Piscotty, big gap in left center, and away we go here in the bottom of the 7th. First pitch taken high. Cardinals get more of what they've seen out of Piscotty tonight, it would be a big lift to this lineup.
Definitely starting to look more under control, more sturdy at the plate. He's taking a lot of borderline pitches and swinging at strikes, and I think that's a big sign when you're starting to feel it, is when you've been able to take borderline pitches and then get after the strikes.
Did you notice Piscotty off balance a lot this year?
I didn't really. I wouldn't notice that he was off balance, except for I noticed that he swung at a lot more pitches this year that were up and out of the zone and like down and away sliders than he did the year before, and that tells you that something is not the same, whether it's thought process or balance or just trying to do too much. It's hard to put a finger on what it is, but there's a bunch of things that create that, and each one of them you can point a finger at until the person says, yeah, that's what it was.
He's 4 for 6 since his return with a home run, walk, and an RBI. The 3-1 pitch and a leadoff walk.
I noticed too, as he's moving back towards the plate instead of just striding straight forward, he's kind of leaning into the pitch again, and that is definitely something that he's changed and is for the better, because it felt like he was kind of pulling off a little bit, trying to get the hands out in front too quick.
Here's Colton Wong with a runner at first base. He picked up a base hit to left. That was in the third and struck out in the fourth. Craig Garcia has moved to the on deck circle. 10 hits for the Padres, 6 for the Cardinals. A check swing and a strike. The start of play tonight, Wong's on base percentage .394. Hit by pitch, walks, base hits. When he's been in that lineup, he's produced. 0-2 the count.
Tell you what, I think the best thing that he's done is cut down that big swing. Remember when he took that swing and it always looked like he was trying to go deep? He's not a home run hitter. He's got good pop. But I like the fact that he went backwards, started over, tried to put the ball in play, and I promise you next year he will come back with a little bit more pop and that same kind of approach.
1 ball and 2 strikes.
I think next comes when you know which pitcher you need to have that approach with, and then which pitcher you can kind of let it fly. I think he thought he could just let it fly with everyone before. Took some really big swings against guys that I didn't think were giving him pitches to take those swings against. He's made a huge adjustment.
Fox tracks, and that pitch barely inside. 2-2 the count on Colton Wong. And a swing and a miss. So 1 out here in the home half of the 7th. Craig Garcia will be the pinch hitter. One of the toughest jobs in baseball, pinch hitting, and you mentioned this ballpark will allow, you know, even a pitcher during a rain delay to go down underneath the stands, stay loose. And for a hitter, it's soft toss. There's a couple of cages to stay loose. Sometimes on a hot day they don't take BP outside, and Garcia taps it foul.
I think people are, when I bring people into the locker room and walk them down to the dugout, I think they're amazed at what is underneath there, as far as how close the locker room is and how pretty much ready everything is at your fingertips.
Outside corner, 0-2. Garcia this year 7 for 33 as a pinch hitter. Does have 8 walks. .291 though as a career pinch hitter.
Little backup slider.
Yeah.
Don't know if that ever came back.
Here's the 0-2 pitch to Garcia. The video so readily available as you see the highest average the pinch hitters Cardinals at .310. Last year was average. And the power. And the 1-2. Back-to-back strikeouts. Pretty good little breaking ball here.
That's a good slider right there. That was a tight, hard slider. Not much of a hump in it. Hard to pick up from a left-handed hitter's perspective. You kind of think that this is going to be a fastball inside, and then it's too late.
This is only the third time this year the Padres have scored 10 or more runs in a game. A shift on here for Carpenter. 2 outs, runner at first. Leadoff walk. That's Piscotty on base for the third time. And ball 1. Carpenter is 0 for 3 with a pair of strikeouts tonight. Also flied out to right. Cardinals fell behind 3-0. They tied it up 3-3. Then it was 4-3 San Diego. Molina tied it up with a home run. And then a 6 spot top half of this inning. Josh Lucas will be the next pitcher in for St. Louis. Right-hander, the rookie's been throwing and getting loose. Bunts hit foul. Well, you need base runners.
I don't think that's a bad play.
Nope.
Just didn't stick the bat out there. I think it's one of those plays when you're like standing there looking at it as a hitter and think, this is so easy, I just got to put it down, and then the ball's on its way and you're like, don't mess up, don't mess up. And then you just bend the bat a little bit too much and it goes foul.
The 2-1. 3-1. Pham on deck. Crowd tonight 38,767. 3-8-7-6-7. Cubs now 13-6 lead in the bottom of the 8th. 3-2 on Carpenter. Reds bullpen 13 earned runs with 8 walks in that game against Chicago. Playing behind Stephen Piscotty. 2 outs, runner at first, and the 3-2 pitch to Carpenter. So 2 walks in the inning. That's how you let a team back into a game. Walks.
I saw that the other night with the Cardinals. Couple of walks, base hit, another walk.
You stayed through that?
Yeah, another one of those games, and gets away from you in a hurry.
I thought David Freese was sending us home. So he hit one to the wall.
I was calling it in the studio. I was like, this is the only guy you don't want at the plate right now. Don't want to pitch to him in this situation.
So here's Pham, who is 0 for 3. Inside, nearly hit him. Paul DeYoung at the on-deck circle. Pham has grounded out to short. He is struck out swinging and also flied out to right.
I mean, this is one of those moments right here where, yeah, you're down by 6, but a 3 spot in the 7th, a 2 spot in the 8th, and you're going into the 9th with a 1-run deficit. It's a totally different game. If you don't score here, it's still a 6-run lead. You can chip away at it. You got yourself a chance as the game progresses because you don't have to score all 6 runs in 1 inning.
Torres, a lefty, getting loose. StubHub is your ticket out to once-in-a-lifetime experiences, from Cardinal games to amazing concerts. Shows you just don't want to miss. StubHub connects you with the world of live. StubHub, your ticket out, the official fan-to-fan ticket marketplace of the Cardinals. Up and into Tommy Pham. Three and 0. Three and 1. Somehow, some way, Cardinals trying to get it to DeYoung. And they do. Bases are loaded. 3 walks in the inning with a 6-run lead. Andy Green, I'm not sure how much longer you can stick with him. Yeah, that's got to be it. DeYoung coming up when we come back. Tonight, hoping for a big comeback. The Cardinals, their average with the bases loaded, 374. To put it in perspective, if DeYoung gets a base hit here, it jumps to 380 with runners in scoring position. Bases loaded this year, he's 1 for 4. A 296 hitter against left-handed batters. All aboard thanks to walks. Milwaukee has jumped out to a 1-0 lead. That's in the bottom of the second. Here's Torres, the new pitcher. 53rd appearance. And the first pitch is strike. We mentioned the Cubs up 13-6. They have not hit a home run. That's the most runs they've scored without a home run since back in 2000. The 0-1. That's out of play. 2 strikes.
You're right about them trying to pitch DeYoung up top. I feel like they're trying to just go up the ladder with him over and over and over. Not even trying to throw him pitches down and out over the plate and get him to roll over.
Here's an 0-2 pitch to Paul DeYoung. Struck him out. Inning over. We head to the 8th. 10-4 San Diego. To the pen, the right-hander is in. Wears number 77. Couple of innings against Pittsburgh on Friday night. So he made his major league debut. You make your debut, and then you settle in a little bit, right? You'd like to think.
Hopefully, yeah. Make your debut, take a couple of days off.
Jose Martinez into the ballgame at first base. Garcia stays in at short, and Carson Kelly is behind the plate. It was interesting to listen to Michael Gersh tonight, the general manager, talk about Carson Kelly. And they felt that he had kind of maxed out what he could do in the minor leagues. They said, look, last year we missed out by 1 game getting into the postseason. And maybe Carson Kelly is the guy in 1 game giving Yadi a rest that can send us over the top, and we feel that we can teach him here. He'll still get plenty of experience. We won't stunt his growth, and that's the fine line when you bring a young player up.
Well, and I think too, you also have to take in consideration that you don't discourage a young player, because I know a lot of young players will be in AAA knowing they're behind someone like Yadi, like a Derek Jeter, like an Albert Pujols, and just like, what am I doing here? Like, get so discouraged that they almost give up a little bit and they turn into a different ball player, knowing they're not going to get a chance to play in the big leagues for at least another 3 years. So you almost, he'll give up working, he'll give up trying as much and doing and get better, and so you might lose him. So I like it. There's a lot of talk about having him up here for what reason, but I like the reasons why they're saying this is our best opportunity, this is our best team. He's already done what he needs to do in AAA, and he can learn at this level, and especially from Yadi and Mike Matheny. Going down there and getting discouraged is not what you want out of this young man, unless you're just going to trade him away and forget about him.
Maswahe, and strike 1. Pair of hits tonight and a run scored. And he's hit by the pitch. That's the 3rd Padre hit by a pitch tonight. So he is from Venezuela, and so is Jose Martinez, and those two may have a conversation right now. It's a very tight-knit group, those from Venezuela, because of everything that has gone on in the political climate. Pirela has been on base twice, and he chops one to third. Jerko across the diamond, does not get the lead man. And with that, there's 2 outs. Brings in Solarte, who is driven in 4 tonight. And now he hits from the left side of the plate.
Fans know what's going on. They're actually booing the young man because they know he's been doing all the damage.
He's had a big night, 2 for 4, pair of doubles, 4 RBIs. And ball 1. Well, you usually see that combination all over town. Bob Gibson and Nick Punto. Nick Punto, the shredder. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Long home run. Solarte, he has driven in 6 tonight. That is a no-doubter. Wow.
Exact same spot, exact same swing. Just a little bit further. It's a bomb. Woo.
You don't see many go above the bullpen and then past the 3 or 4 rows and then the walkway and then up to the next section.
You don't see a lot of balls going over that walkway.
Wow.
Especially on a line.
It's a career high 6 driven in for Solarte. Jan Ervis Solarte. .455 feet. The distance of the home run, and now Myers swing and a miss, and it's 1-2. Man, oh man, that got out in a hurry. Here's a 1-2. You mentioned that Will Myers is the rookie of the year. He did that in only 88 games. And he and Ryan Howard, the only rookies of the year to ever win that award in playing in under 100 games that rookie campaign. Howard did it with the Phillies and Myers with Tampa Bay. 3-2 the count. Well, disappointing night here at the ballpark. 12-4 our score. Solarte, the 6 of the 12 that he's driven in. That's pulled foul, and that clears the dugout of the Padres.
Wow.
Don't hit Solarte.
Sometimes you just can't move fast enough.
Yeah.
Just got to get your face out of there. Back to the other dugout.
And that's taken low, so a 2-out walk. And a foul ball. Matt Caesar at the plate. Caesar had a big base hit off the bench. The base is loaded. 0-2 the count, and delivered against Duke. That's it out of play. No balls and 2 strikes. Ground ball hit to short. Garcia, the forced play at second. So Marte, he knew it. He's driven in 6, and it's 12-4. Bud Light, famous among friends. And by Ford, the official cars and trucks of the St. Louis Cardinals. Along with Jim Edmonds, I'm Dan McLaughlin. Jim Hayes with us as well. Torres in his 2nd inning in relief. We're in the bottom of the 8th, 12-4 our score. And Dexter Fowler looks at a ball. Reminder that we're on the air tomorrow at 6:30. That's rip fair into the left field corner. And Fowler trotting into second base with a leadoff double.
He's been swinging it since he's been back, huh?
Big time. Brings in Carson Kelly. He's in Molina's spot. Molina had a nice night with a couple of hits and a walk. Carson hitting 148. He's driven in 5. Think about trying to keep a catcher sharp. It's not only what you do at the plate, it's what you do behind the plate too. Catching, throwing, blocking balls, trying to stay sharp as you possibly can of being a backup catcher.
I mean, in all seriousness though, like, I think your defensive skills to a point can be saved with work out there on that field. You can go out early and block balls. You can throw just like you would from the outfield, and you can do some things, but it is hard to duplicate the speed of the pitch when you're trying to hit.
And Kelly strikes out. Ball does get away. Didn't realize it. There's the out at first. This copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the St. Louis Cardinals. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals. The story tonight, Solarte with his 6 RBIs, the most ever by a Padre in St. Louis. 4 have had 5 RBIs as Jerko grounds it to short. The last to do that against St. Louis, the man at the plate, Jed Jerko, and now Solarte. So 2 outs. Fowler advancing to third, and it brings in Piscotty.
I feel like that list had to have Brian Giles on it.
Had to have,
I
right?
feel like every time we played against him, he was killing us. We couldn't get him out.
Steve Garvey, maybe a Mike Piazza.
Well, all those people, I'm going with Brian Giles.
Adrian Gonzalez, maybe.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Ouch. 1 ball, 1 strike on Piscotty. He's homered tonight, walked, and also singled to center. Here's a 1-1 pitch. Piscotty down the left field line. It's hooking and foul.
Say it couldn't have been by much because you usually don't see the player run all the way to first base and wait for the umpire to make the decision. You kind of have that feel when you hit it. This swing looks so much better.
Oh man, seeing the ball jump off the bat too. One and 2 the count. And a swing and a miss will tag out Piscotty, and the 8th inning comes to a close. 12-4 as we head to the 9th. Camp opening up in a couple of weeks for the St. Louis Blues. 12-4 our score. Lucas, his second inning of work. This is Hedges at the plate. And he had a 3-run homer back in that 6-run 7th inning. Padres added 2 more in the 8th on the Solarte 2-run shot. And they have a 12-4 lead here in the top of the 9th. Good play by Kelly. He's had a couple of those with a guy like Lucas that slings it with that slider. Not easy to block, and he's done that twice on strike 3. So that's a nice job.
It's a really good job right there. And catchers are taught that when the breaking ball is called, they're expecting a ball in the dirt or a ball low. That's why I see sometimes when you see a catcher botch or get a short hop on a fastball and he doesn't catch it, like what happened to Yachty tonight, they're not expecting the fastball off the ground or in the dirt. They're expecting the slider and the breaking ball and the changeup to be down. That's why you can see them shift their weight, really get up on their balls of their feet and kind of spread out their stance a little bit more. But with the fastball, you see right there, you can see that's not the fastball, but you can see by the catching position that they're expecting the ball pretty much where they're setting up.
We hear about pitch framing, and they say that Carson Kelly very good at extra inch or 2 out in front of the plate, even with soft hands, where some guys, if they extend the glove, it's more of a stab at the baseball, where his hands able to cup it, if you will, and
basically stick it.
Yeah,
and stick the catch, where a lot of guys, when they reach out for a ball, the ball will actually take the glove out of the zone or carry the hand with the ball.
And Lucas gets strikeout number 2. Gary LaRocque, who runs the minor league system, helps run it for the Cardinals when they made the move with Carson Kelly to behind the plate. And he said, you never know when you ask a young man that's been doing one position all his life to change how they're going to receive the news. And he said Kelly was great about it. Said the first game, he's behind the plate, a pop-up, throws the mask, throws the helmet. He's ready for it, and it drops right at his feet. Drops right at his feet. And he said, you know, some guys can be embarrassing. He said, not Carson. He said, great attitude ever since day 1. We've asked him to make the move from third base to catcher. Carson Kelly in relief of Yadier Molina tonight. It's 12-4. mound.
It's amazing with all that talk about so much about mechanics, how he can get his arm back on time with all that's going on behind him and be able to deliver the ball on time and be able to have that kind of timing to throw strikes.
Well, you think about too, pushing off with your back foot. A lot of guys still on the ground. He's off the ground delivering the pitch. So unique delivery of Carter Capps. Dealt with some arm issues and that limited his time coming out of spring training a couple years ago. But he was vying for that spot against A.J. Ramos. And it's 0-2 on Colton Wong.
Take a look at this here, Danny. A little slower.
Seen anything like that?
Shortening up the game.
Wow.
That's a big jump.
Luke Voigt, by the way, was a catcher before he became a first baseman, and caught him in 2011 at a Cape Cod All-Star game. Luke is watching right now. He's probably like, oh yeah, I remember this guy. How could I forget? He also, by the way, throws mid-90s.
Yeah, that helps. That's probably why he hasn't been changed.
Well, no surprise here. Our Budweiser player of the game, Solarte, the third baseman for the Padres, 3 for 5, 2-run homer, couple of doubles, and he drives in 6, the most ever for a Padre, 6 RBIs in a game in St. Louis. Here's Greg Garcia, who was a pinch hitter and stayed in the game at shortstop. It's almost like he's dragging the ball on his backside too.
You can almost see him. It's like the ball in his wrist is touching his body. Did you say backside?
I did. Better than saying something else. Garcia grounds out to short, trying to bait me.
So I'm trying to bait you. I was just asking if you said backside.
The Cub game is final. They win. So the Cardinals, if they cannot come back in this game, barring a miracle, would drop to 4.5 back of the Chicago Cubs. And the final hope is Jose Martinez. And a strike. Scott Warman and Ricky Horton will have all the highlights across Major League Baseball coming up on the post game. And it's 1 ball and 1 strike. What came down to be a battle of the bullpens tonight, and the Cardinals came up short. Two and 1 the count. High chopper to third. Who should end it? Solarte. Game over. Padres take game 1 by the final of 12-4. Tough night for St. Louis.
Tough night for St. Louis. Tough night for the pitching staff or the bullpen. 12 runs is a lot of runs to give up and a lot to ask for the offense. But you know what happens, and you got to move on. See you tomorrow night.
Post-game show comes your way next. News, highlights, stats across Major League Baseball. 12-4 the final.